Shalom, Miss Parker, to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum to my Muslim brothers and sisters. Umezite Owidiwe to my Rwandan brothers and sisters, and love, peace, and blessings to my brothers and sisters in BS&G, known to me as Babylon, Sodom, and Gomorrah. This lesson, this will be on education. And so, as I've said in my previous subjects, do your own research. You're responsible for your research. And if you're parents, you're responsible for your children's education, as well as your own education. And as you do that, then we can get together and form a community of unity with educated and like-minded people. So I shared the history, know the history. Of our captives. So I'm just talking about the history and education since we've been brought over here over 400 years. Our education and history goes back to the beginning of time, because we are the beginning of humanity. So we have been educated to hate ourselves and love our abductors and their system. We have allowed them to teach our children part truths and lies. This did not start with DT. This started the second we were abducted 400 years ago. The LOE lies about the geography of the world. Look at the global maps. They lie about inventors and inventions and suppress the contributions that our people have made and continue to make. They whitewash their forefathers' debauchery, murder, rape of our children, women, and men, and continue to do so to this very day. And as you see the dismantling of historic history, and they don't, the bad thing is they don't even have our full history. They distort our past leaders, what they say, what they said. And of course now, back when I was growing up, we had to buy encyclopedias to get extra stuff. Now, you can just hit YouTube, Google, and yes, it's some half-truths or whatever, but as you continue to do research, and the Creator gives you discernment, you can see the truth. I've had the pleasure to volunteer for 7 years in the school system, PGCC school system that I was in. I knew the research and from other things what I would kind of face, because, understanding and reading and understanding how they target our Black children, especially our boys, to put on medication, to miseducate them, to not have them to be the best that they could be. And I'm talking about the system, not talking about individual teachers, because I was around teachers who really believed in educating our children. And principles, a couple of principles. And I saw what they did to them. They defunded them. They overworked them. And teachers had to pull their own resources out because of the system, the community, the government. I chose not to fund that area. So where I was living at, you had PG County, Montgomery County, and other counties and Rwandan. But just for the sake of, as I grew up, and it was happening. PG County, back in 1996 to 2005, and Montgomery County was divided along, more the haves and have-nots. And so the reason how that came about, just like the whole system, is the Montgomery County would get more money to their schools than PG County, which was predominantly Black. And then they have this saying, well, it comes with the taxes and such. Well, when you do your research and understand certain things about taxes and where you live at, you see the setup. It is a system. And so when people used to say the man or whatever, it wasn't them. They created the system, but then they put, as I would share with you, the HMs to be part of the system and indoctrinate our mind. You have representation. Forgetting about the representation is not for us. And they've done it since the inception. And so, and politics is not one of the subjects, but it's the same thing in there. You can look at our leaders. I talked about the leaders that we have. So Martin Luther King, all you knew about is, I have a dream. One day, white boys and black girl will be walk hand in hand, we judge the product, our character, not the colors. They play that, they rerun. That was 1% of Martin Luther King. See, that's why you have to do your history. They didn't want to talk about when he says, I'm afraid I led my people into a burning building. They didn't want to talk about America's had wrote a check. And a check that is no good. They didn't want to talk about, all you need to do is research and get the actual what MLK, that the majority of what he was about. And yes, they played it out about him marching and taking out and just nonviolence. So, I don't debate or what, that was what his call was. But the things he said, and he realized, because he went with the let's just march peacefully, and they'll see that we're not a threat. We just want to have our own stuff. He left alone. Cool. It didn't happen that way. And so the death threats and all that stuff, of course, they could take him out anytime they wanted. But understand this, do your research and find out when they decide to take him out. Whenever you threaten the LOE's system, financial system, and try to wake up their people, you have to go. And so it was no coincidence that when he was there to try to get the truck drivers to strike to get better pay, that was, and the things he was saying before, he had to go. So as long as he marched in peace and said, hey, I'm cool and none of that other stuff, there you go right here. Lead your lead the lambs to slaughter. So, of course, they tried to put him against Malcolm X. And it's the whole thing, divide and conquer. But he realized, Malcolm realized, they were on the same team because they had the same enemy that's been there, that brought our ancestors. And the enemy, not only they created the system, but the enemy also had people that look like us. Because biblically, you talk about a Judas. Just people who would turn on their own people for gold and silver. And so we have those, we continue to have those. But back in those days, we did have some strong leaders. Now, we haven't had no strong leaders in decades. Anybody who's been in Congress, in the House, they're part of the system. They've been bought, sold, and all. Now, if you can find one, it's not one who is for and advocates for Black people unapologetically. When we were abducted and brought here and brought there, because I'm not there anymore, and made that country profitable and on its way where it is, before they got into trillions of dollars of debt, made it powerful. They took us, Black people. They didn't take the other ones, people of color. They took us Black people. Yeah, and got Native Americans too, and they were part of, and then people say, oh, well, Native Americans. See, and they say, oh, some Black people sold you. Okay. You have different types of slavery. The slavery that was done here in America was barbaric. It wasn't, okay, you do your time and then you're free to go. And that's it. No, we will kill you. We want to your women, your children. We want to take your mind. We want to control your mind so you can be ours. So understanding that, then you have to move accordingly. The education, the miseducation of our people. Now I'm going to talk specifically about our children, because like I was saying, I had the pleasure of being in the system. And I saw firsthand what they did to discourage the teachers who really wanted to be there for the children and the principals. And I understood that, I saw that, one, as a volunteer, I was one of 2 Black men in the whole elementary school. And so our Black boys who have the testosterone, have the activity of being taught by people, not men, who some have the patience, but don't, and if they're Black, but that's where I was, but a majority of them not mostly around, they don't have the knowledge or the patience to deal with our boys. And so what they do is, hey, he's eligible, give him some drugs. And then the system say, how can we make that profitable? And so the school gets money for each child, ADHD. They get extra money. So like I said, everything leads back to their greed. And unfortunately, since, like I said before, single parent homes, um, the mother usually capitulates and says, okay, go ahead, put him on drugs that will have negative effects on his life immediately and in the future. And I've seen firsthand, to make it simple, that they try to feminize our boys and make 304s out of our girls. So 304s is another word for, it's close to a prostitute. No morals. And we're talking about 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. I know, I've seen it. And so the media and everything that they put you on to is geared for that. So as parents, when we're too busy and we give our children a tablet without no restrictions on that tablet, without knowing what the tablet can do, that is adjacent equivalent to giving your 7-year-old child the keys to your car. And I can go to any parent and say, give your 7-year-old the keys to your car. And they say, you crazy? Do you know how irresponsible that is? And that's the same responsibility when you give your child a phone, a tablet, or anything else that you know don't have control over, and you know whether the lock's on, whether they can take them off. That is equivalent to that, in my humble opinion. I've been in the, I had the privilege of, I knew about the adoption system, but I have been in it because one of my sons, the youngest at the time, we adopted, and we got to actually see how bad the system, they said, was for black kids, black boys. How bad that I researched daughter was, it was worse when I got into the system. I've been privileged to be in different types of systems to see firsthand, not only research and do it, but actually be in relationships, religion, finance, education, history, health. I've been in the systems, researching and physically, personally been in there to see that the system is strong and alive to do what the system is meant to do. And that is nothing, has no good intentions for us as a people to build a community of unity. So in closing, I would say this. Life is about choices. You make decisions and have priorities. Embrace the choices that you have. When you make bad choices, you want to do things to correct them and make better choices. Talk about walk in truth, be humble, and be teachable. And of course, put our Creator first. And even those who are on here and don't have any cult, don't believe in, whether it's an organized religion or way of life, a couple of things you can go by. Also, the basic fundamental is you reap what you sow. Might not come at the same time, but it will come. And just the decency of, the truth. The difference between a lie and the truth. Deception is a lie. Anything other than the truth, partial truth. So understand that those are basic things. And that's just decency being a human being. Treat the other people the way you want to be treated. Understand it's a reap and sowing process in your life. And don't do to people what you don't want done to yourself. So with that, blessings and love and peace. And the last one will be a overall summation. And Yafa, my beautiful wife, will be doing that with me. And so I'll see you then.